You spot the perfect job listing. The salary is great, the role matches your skills, and the recruiter seems eager to move fast. It all looks good. You hit submit, send your resume. But how do you know it's actually real? In a market flooded with increasingly sophisticated recruitment scams, AI tools, a single wrong click can mean losing your private data, your time, or your hard earned money before you even realize you've been targeted. I had one just yesterday. Somebody did me an amazingly elaborate scheme. Went through all sorts of rabbit holes, and my spidey sense was tingling. But I've been doing this for a long time, and I could smell something was wrong. Welcome to Talent Thrives Here, the podcast where we unpack the realities of the human workforce, hiring trends, and what it truly takes to succeed. I'm your host, Lance Laforte of Laforte Talent Group. We're a recruiting firm, and we have clients across North America. My special guest today is Karen Connolly. Karen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Karen, you're the founder and CEO of JobChecked, Canada's very first independent job verification platform. You have designed this tool and this service to act as a frontline defense against job scams. Thank you, first and foremost, because I'm sure a ton of recruiters and a ton of job seekers and a ton of companies have been waiting. And, as AI is getting better and faster, there's so much noise on the whole job highway. That whole ecosystem is flooded with noise right now. Tell us a little bit about the product and the service and how it works.
Well, basically, we realized, and through this is built by people who've been there through personal experience and also watching the market and how sophisticated job scams had become. And it's no longer the old days of poorly written emails and abrupt requests for money that you can identify easily. These are targeted, they're sophisticated. And
Yeah.
so we realized that there needed to be a way to create a barrier, a protective system for job seekers. Because think about it, there's platforms for recruiters, there's a platform for employers out there, but there's nothing for job seekers to verify the opportunities that they're coming across or the outreach. So we through extensive research, we created I describe it as a taxonomy of job scams, a proprietary database of reported scams. We turned that into an assessment system. It's a three-engine system, and it's accessible to job seekers free through our platform because we believe that basic safety in relation to recruitment money shouldn't be a barrier. So we made the service free to job seekers. And then we also have a second layer that supports recruiters, organizations through a trust mark. So they can add a portable verification to all their recruiter outreach. And so that's what we're focusing on, that initial engagement, that letter you receive, that outreach you receive. When you see an individual online and you can verify them online, you still have no idea that that's still the individual you're talking to. And
Right.
that is the dangerous gap we're trying to close.
Yeah, I'm floored by, I live in this world and you do daily, and I'm amazed at the phishing scams that hit me still.
Yes.
And like I said, I had one just yesterday. It was very clever, very elaborate, and I start running my own verification, my own sort of, proprietary thing I do to trigger and figure out who's talking to me really.
Yes.
And and often it's like, look, let's just get on a Zoom call. And if they won't do that, that's my first red flag, you know. Or can you phone me? But it's I think with all the tools, as I mentioned in the intro, like it's getting worse because while AI has given us all of these potentially interesting pieces of technology to use to do things faster and quicker, the scammers are have access to the exact same set of tools, right? And
Exactly.
so the
That's how
game just got brutal, I think worse than it's ever been.
Absolutely. And that's how easy it's become. But think about it. You can clone a domain. You can easily then set up a fake web address from there. And you can be reaching out to individuals with what looks completely legitimate. And so
Yeah.
what we've developed is through that extensive research is to identify all those signals, but not just the signals, the process itself, that the hiring process is credible, that it follows a regular sequence of events, that there's no abrupt requests for money, for
Yeah.
data side of the usual process. And because when people are selected and someone points a finger at you and says, you're special, we've found you, you
Yeah.
rise above the noise, that disarms you. Suddenly you're
Yeah.
willing to rush forward to grab at that opportunity. And that's where the risk enters. And so what we offer is a risk assessment. We don't say this is fraud. because nobody can 100% say this is fraud until there's a full professional investigation. What we say is it's a risk. Is it a low risk? Is it a moderate risk? Is it a high risk? Or is it critical? And we give people next steps, and they can download that report free instantly. Now, there is further products there that if you require a deeper assessment, but
Right.
initially that service is free because we believe that job seekers need to be protected. And not
Yeah.
only that, it's affecting the talent pool. You must have noticed this, Lance, whereby people who can afford to step back will step back. And that means that the real opportunities are getting lost among the noise.
Oh, I totally agree. And I mean it's a big topic in the sense that some companies sort of have these evergreen job descriptions. They never take them down. And whether
Exactly.
they're hiring for the role or not, they just leave it up. And so there's that bit of confusion. Then there's I read about it on LinkedIn all the time where someone applies for a job, they get rejected, and they think, well, or the email says, someone's already been hired, thank you, whatever. And then they see the job reposted 3 months later, and there's always this, what happened? Why wasn't, if the job's still open and they are not considering me? And so it's on top
Yeah.
of the scams, there's just from a corporate level, employment brand management is interesting in the sense that some of these companies just have these random jobs running 360,
And it's
um,
think about it, it's encouraged by the professional platforms out there that these jobs are hosted on.
yeah,
As a company owner, I receive regular prompts. Have
yeah,
I got anything available? And I'm actually given, background information of how this will make me more prevalent in
yeah,
searches, how people think I'm more active, and how it
yeah,
will create illusion of
right,
growth. And
yeah,
so if companies are being encouraged to do this by the very platforms we're expecting to protect the job seeker. Now, not
yeah,
only that, the verification on these platforms, while we see, there's a recruiter, they're verified, they're visible on that platform, it's bound within that platform. And truthfully, what we've actually created as just a general population of job seekers and as professionals is we have created a cache of mineable data on all
mm,
these professional websites. Every piece of information about your career is available at the touch of a button, and
right,
it's detailed. It's not just what you do, it's what your interests are, what motivated you, where your needs lie, who your family are, where your demographic lies. And so scammers are able to target specifically for you. And it's no
yeah,
longer one demographic either. Everyone thought it was entry level, it was task jobs, it was these lower level entry level positions, and it's not at all. They're targeting executives. I was targeted. I
mm,
was targeted by an extremely sophisticated scam. Took it
yeah,
all the way to the interview stage.
wow,
Saw
wow,
face to face on a screen, and it was only
wow,
the afterwards, something just didn't feel right. And again, long in
yeah,
the tooth. I've been doing this a long time. I've pivoted from an industry, and I've always been recruitment facing. And
hmm,
so something didn't feel right. So I did something that no job seeker generally does. I reached out directly to the person I was supposed to be reporting to,
right,
not the recruiter, not the company, the person I was supposed to be reporting to, who'd been mentioned, who had been impersonated on
yeah,
this outreach. They'd never heard of me, no
right.
idea who I was, and an investigation ensued. And so that was the birth of JobChecked.
Yeah, that's fantastic because it's exactly that similar story. I start to check on LinkedIn, then I call the company or I start checking them out online, because somebody's clearly impostering, like they're masquerading as this person.
Mhm.
Um, but it's, I've had it happen several times, not as deep as you're talking about, but exactly that. And I went on Reddit a couple times and found that there's a whole community talking about this specific scam.
Absolutely.
And there was one that was some little old lady in like Louisiana. She was part of some biker gang, like a biker mama, and she was harvesting data. And then they were basically trying to figure out your birth date so that they could crack your credit cards and all that sort of stuff. That was the whole idea. Was your resume is in the direction of the data they want to collect, and then they start, and now again
And
with
some of
all
it's not
these,
as nefarious as that, Lance. Some of it is purely data harvesting. Because what does
yeah,
data create? It creates this wonderful cache of marketing information. So you
Yeah.
can suddenly be targeted for sales, for opportunities, for
Right.
training, for sign up to this course. Suddenly you're prevalent. I'm finding I'm now getting offered a lot of awards that require payment
Mm,
for
mm.
my expose as
Yeah.
receiving this award. So
When when
it,
I
it it's
so,
just incredible what they're doing at the moment. Sorry.
yeah, and I think for the average job seeker, anywhere in the process when that party asks for money, that for me is like just stop. Like
Yeah.
nowhere. Like I saw one the other day. Credit checks, and depending on it, or a police check. And I've worked for lots of companies where we do those in the United States, where we do a police check, background check, a credit check, and usually they're 25 or 50 or $100, but the company pays it. The never, never, ever do we have a candidate pay that fee. And I saw one the other day, somebody saying, well, they're asking me to pay 25 bucks for this background check. I'm like, no, 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 pull out. If
Well,
they're about to pay you 60, 70, 80, 100, $200,000 a year, whatever, and they can't afford the money to do this small perfunctory check, they're about to scam you, right? They're taking your money and
and
they're
that's the other.
taking your data.
It's actually going to become more and more complicated because now the reference checking is actually turning over onto the individual. There's products developing whereby you can pre-check. So you're applying for a job and you can go on a site and you can now verify your data, your credentials, your driver's license, whatever is the requirement of that particular role. And you can pay and pre-check and then have that
Wow.
available for the employer. And because those opportunities are out there, it's
Yeah.
muddying the water for
Yeah.
occasions. And because sometimes you're working remotely and you require a large, like I've worked remote on some development projects, on some deployments, and I required specific expensive equipment to be provided.
Yeah.
Now, generally, there used to be a deposit for that, so
Mm,
that you would return that equipment. And there was all sorts of things when you were working remotely or working freelance, and that has muddied the water as well. So
sure.
people are so eager to rise above the noise if they've been noticed that it's not even that they don't notice they're being asked for money or they don't realize that they've entered a risky situation. It's that they're
Right.
so motivated to move forward and to reach that goal that when someone says you're the one, you tell you what, send me your information now. I'll be able to process you much quicker
Right.
and
Right.
give you that
I'll
goal.
get you to the front of the line, right? Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
so attractive. And we're so vulnerable to that as people. It appeals to every, on a psychological level, on
Yeah.
that, elevation level. I've risen above. I'm special in
Yeah.
some way.
Oh yeah,
You know,
flattery goes a long way for some people.
that's
Karen, just a quick shot. I'm watching the time, and I know our audience is probably doing 12 things while they're listening to us, and probably driving as well. If people want to find you, is LinkedIn the best way, or is it just go to JobChecked? How do I get in touch with you if I'm a recruiter or a job seeker or a company that wants extra verification?
Absolutely. Well, it's jobcheck.ca, and that's our site. It's free access for the job seeker. They can upload any kind of communication, outreach, offer letter, and they can download a report straight away. And for recruiters, organizations, and just those companies who want to show that they support safer hiring practices, they can contact us on either Karen at jobcheck.ca. I'm happy to hear from you, or visit our website, jobcheck.ca, because we're looking for safer hiring to fund safer hiring.
Excellent. Great. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's fantastic to have you on the show. And I do hope a lot of our listeners will take to heart, your extra service because it's going to become, it's already important, but I think it's going to become increasingly important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's essential now. It's becoming an essential part of the hiring process because verification on platforms are bound to the platform. And
Yeah.
we've proven that it all moves off platform almost immediately.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great. Thank you again. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Cheers.